Very sweet. So I'm the same person. So he's like, someday. Especially if we need to talk about maintaining.
Yeah. What, you gonna reprint the maintain? Awesome. Good.
Is that the same guy?
You're coming out first. You're good.
Oh. No, it's two. Oh, no, it's three. Yeah, yeah. And then I don't know. Yeah. Oh man, this is making me happy. These are still up to you. was that kind of reading.
Yeah, there you go. A little bump and grind here, ladies and gentlemen. The bump and grind. Welcome to Bird and Beckett. So how's that volume out in the house? You guys are good with that? You want it up? I'll have to wait till I get to that end, but we'll bring it up a little bit. Yeah, thank you so much for coming out, for having that nice, relaxing, social 43 minutes there. Very, very kind of you to indulge our situation. So we're really happy, of course. So Neeli called and said, let's get this reading together. We have Danny Rosen came out from Colorado. Good thing it took him a long time to walk out here, so he needed to get a little extra rest before the start. Clark kind of came down. I think he came on his knees from Petaluma. So, yeah, so we had to rest the knees there a little bit. And then from just close here across town, Garrett Caples, right? And Neeli came over with Orion and also with Jesse, you know. So anyway, so Neeli's going to introduce and MC and all that. Do you have enough leg room there, Susan? Wait till I step on your toes, then you're going to be mad at me. Okay, so yeah, so we'll get a little stance. Here's some of Danny's books. There's something Neeli did with Clark, a discussion, a conversation, or set of conversations with Clark. And we got a few of Clark's books out there in the window. We can look around and see what we got. Okay, Neeli, you ready? All right, great. Make your way up here. Maybe I'll move this a little closer to the wall so you can put a hand there to help yourself get up there. All right. And we'll do like this. And we'll do like this. The full drama, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, the fact is, I just came down with Danny and Clark from Petaluma because Susan had another engagement for a bit there, but she just arrived. And happy birthday, Susan. Won't say how young you are. You're about my age. I'm in my late 70s, very late 70s. Oh, is it late? Anyway, I got this idea. Danny came down a couple of years ago. We did a reading. And then Kyle Harvey, who's Danny's great editor at Lithic. And so I figured this is the third, in my mind, this is the third Lithic reading. And I put these three people together because, let me figure it out here. I was thinking about Garrett on the way passing the shopping center in Sausalito, and do I talk about Garrett? I remember him as a hip-hop journalist. I remember when I first heard of Garrett, it was from Philip Lamantia, who told me about this young poet who was meeting with him, and they were having these great times together. And I don't know if they drank as much coffee as Philip and I did, but anyway, I figured that Garrett is a very well-educated person, but I'm sure that his real education, the one that meant the most, was probably topped off by Mr. Lamantia. Is that right, Garrett? There was nobody greater. There was no greater conversationalist than that man. At 78, I feel the same way. I don't embarrass him. I mean, in the last 10 years, I got to know Clark, and it was sort of the way I used to tell Meltzer. I thought they were 30 or 40 years older than me, and I found out they're only 7 years older than me. I was astounded because they had all these books out, and I've been reading their books. And then a couple of years ago, Clark said something very nice to me. He said, "How come we didn't know each other earlier?" Well, I don't know. It just wasn't. But since I've known him, he's just a wealth of knowledge, and I never known a greater listener. But he's the kind of listener who you learn from. And I'm trying to learn that lesson. Anyway, Garrett also has been in touch with Danny over possible publication of various books. He helped on David Meltzer's Rock Dow for Danny. I know that between Lithic and City Lights, the relationship is really through Garrett and Danny and Kyle Harvey, and it's a great one. And in terms of, I'm trying to cover all three right now, so I don't have to keep getting up. In terms of, Danny also has books in progress by Jessica Loss and by Scott Bird, who's here, and some other people. And he already published The Land of All Times by Clark, and there's a new book will be coming out, which I believe he'll read from, which is so exciting because I haven't heard. It's only it's a very small book, like 200 pages, something like that. And for Clark, that can be pretty small. And he also did Coolidge and Cherkovski in Conversation, which is also available as a film. And we sat down and we just talked for several hours, and it's in a book form, and I really like that. Danny is also the owner of Lithic Bookshop in the little town of Fruta. And when I came there the first time, it's on the second floor of an old building on the town square. I'm in this little town in Colorado, and there's a poem by Jack Spicer in the doorway, facing. And I thought, this is really something. And I come in, and there's all these books on the region, on nature, a gigantic poetry section. And Danny is never happier. The other week we're talking, he said, I got to get off the phone. There's these young people in, and they're looking at the poetry books, or at the books. It's amazing. That's good enough. And I said, oh, they must be in their 20s. No, they're teenagers. It's just incredible. So he reminds me very much of Lawrence and his relationship with the bookstore, also being a publisher and all that kind of thing. And Garrett, of course, is doing the Spotlight series, Younger Poets for City Lights, and that's been a tremendous. It's 20-some books, I think, just a tremendous selection of books. He edited the poetry of Frank Lima and several other people for City Lights. He's done several books in the Pocket Poet series, 2 books of Tongo Eisen Martin. He put together David Meltzer's When I Was a Poet for the Pocket Poet series, and has really kept the flame burning in that regard. So there's all this cross current of activity. And aside from that, sort of a crown jewel is City Lights is reissuing the 3rd edition of the Crystal Text by Clark Coolidge, which to my mind, just in my mind, but maybe some others, there's 3 books of whatever I hate that postmodern, late modernism, whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, Memory by Bernadette Mayer. It's just I almost for the Sonnets by Ted Berrigan and the Crystal Text by Clark Coolidge. I'd say you couldn't do better than that. You could take those 3 books to Land's End and spend a couple weeks reading and studying them. So the first reader is Garrett Caples. The second one will be Mr. Danny Rosen. And the third will be the man himself, Clark Coolidge. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Eric, for having us.
Or actually, this should be better. All right. Well, thank you, Neeli. And thank you, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Eric, as always, for letting us behave like this. This is bad because I've already read this month, so I've given the good reading, and now I have to do weirder shit because I'm tired of the good reading. But Clark didn't see the other reading, so I gotta read some good poems, but the rest will be bad. It's called Triptych for Snidge. I'm in a hot bath, weed gummies kicking in. I have the manuscript of Proses, my new book of stories, already accepted, perched on my knees, intending to give it a last luxurious look before sending it into production, when my phone rings. I grab my phone from the sink to see my father is calling. With a rashness I regret, I answer. I dislike my father, but my one ambition for the relationship now that I'm over 50 and he's over 75 is to endure it without undue stress until one of us dies. It's sometimes easier to just answer the phone and make a little small talk, get it over with, and forget about him until the next call. But my father isn't on board with my unvoiced ambition. And even if he were, his idea of small talk is deficient. His disinterest in the particulars of my life means he's got little to go on. He's not about to ask my opinion of A.L. Snyder's, for example. But he knows I live in San Francisco, so San Francisco seems like a topic, although all he knows about San Francisco is what he hears on Fox News, which portrays the city as a post-apocalyptic hellscape where people are routinely murdered in the street or on public transport. To rebut this image would be tedious, so I pretend I have no idea what he's talking about. If I don't react, we'll move on. But today he takes an unexpected tack. We are several days removed from a cruel act of political theater in which Florida governor and charisma-free Republican presidential aspirant Ron DeSantis sent a plane load of Venezuelan and Colombian immigrants from El Paso, Texas, to Sacramento as a sick burn on his woke Democratic nemesis, California Governor Gavin Newsom. Remembering San Francisco is in California, my father decides this is ground for small talk. Though his opening gambit, "I saw your man Gavin Newsom is mad at DeSantis," takes the form of a provocation. Newsom is in no sense my man, but at least he had the spine to suggest that DeSantis' stunt, inducing migrants to accept the trip with false promises of assistance, amounts to kidnapping or human trafficking. And though I would never willingly embark on such a conversation with my father, he sprung it on me unawares, so I find myself explaining all this. He scoffs. I begin to yell at him with a suddenness that takes even me by surprise. His father was an immigrant from Ireland, and he can muster no feeling for these people. I tell him that he's a disgrace to his father, a disgrace to Ireland, that God will judge him for this. The big three. I call him a fucking dumb asshole and other extravagant names. I tell him to fuck off and hang up on him. Such are the fruits of my ambition. After my bath, my wife and I decide to go for a walk. I can still feel the shock of adrenaline in my jaw and my elbows, so I want to walk it off. But as soon as we step outside, we hear it, a drum. Not a recording or a sample of a drum, but a deep boom of a real skin-covered drum, quarter notes with the accent on the one. Granted, we're in San Francisco, and even in tech-ruined, pandemic-ravaged, trank-ganked Mad Max San Francisco, the per capita incident of live public drumming remains magnitudes higher than the rest of the nation. But somehow we know it's a powwow. We follow the sound up 22nd to Dolores to a grade school across the street where we sometimes vote. We hesitate to approach, but being assured the event is open to the public, we enter the schoolyard. The powwow has definitely peaked. Billed as a youth powwow, it was never high-powered to begin with, but a couple more dances are still on the agenda. We pick out an uninhabited corner from which to watch. The costumes are vibrant kimono-style affairs. The dances are sedate, not terribly distinct from walking, but the drum never flags, and it imparts a dignity that not even the 70s county fair patter of the MC can dispel. There have been times in my life when I would have found the whole thing hokey and depressing, but right now it feels alive, a defiance of genocide, however modest. Of course, the whole scenario is fatuous, absurd. I have an argument with my father about immigrants only to encounter a powwow a block away from home. Fuck off! If I was still in the middle of writing proses, I'd make it work, flaunting its crass implausibility, having something ridiculous happen, like the dance conjures a suitably researched Native American spirit to vanquish my father and my father's God, then vanquish me and my atheism, and then maybe spread across the country just vanquishing. Something cheery like that. But my heart really isn't in it, partly because it seems like a trashy use of the powwow, which I really did find a block from where I live immediately after arguing with my father about immigration, and partly because I've ruined it ruined myself for prose-style prose by reading Lydia Davis's translation of A.L. Snyder's. Instead of inflating, I want to distill the juxtaposition down to its essence, setting the bare fact of the phone call against the bare fact of the powwow. Of course, I've already failed in my ambition to imitate Snyder's, whose name I persist in mispronouncing as Snidgers, or Snidge, because the midword J delights me. If I was really trying to make a snidge, I'd have stopped after the one-sentence paragraph, such are the fruits of my ambition, and I'd call the piece ambition. Snidge wouldn't even use the powwow, or it'd be in a different snidge altogether. But I'm more interested in the juxtaposition than I am in imitating Snidge, so the powwow goes in. The whole thing about Newsom and DeSantis takes too much explanation, and if Snidge referred to something that specific, he'd only use the most oblique reference, a name to signify a situation. Snidge would just see a puddle of milk in a driveway and think about a time a stranger forced him to accept the ownership of a dog he didn't want. Even that might be too much for one Snidge. I can't write like Snidge, but even though I can't, he exerts his influence on the proceedings. But this will end up being like 3 Snidges. I dilly-dally. I finish reading Davis's Snidge translation. About a month later, early one Sunday morning, before I fall asleep, I write the first couple of paragraphs. I look them over when I get up, but I have other work to do, so I don't dwell on them. By late afternoon, I need a break. I've had a hard time adjusting to life after the pandemic, still ordering most things online instead of going out to get them. But I need shoes, and the shoe store I go to is open in a couple more hours, so my wife and I hop a Muni train, seizing the errand as an excuse to leave the house. The trip admirably fulfills the last-named ambition, but fails in every other respect. The shoes are out of stock in my style, so they have to be shipped to me anyway. The spontaneous quest for a new shirt quickly unravels. And the J Church Muni we take never makes it to its destination. The train stops at 18th Street. A group of teenagers suddenly sets upon it, blocking the train, climbing on it, tagging it with spray paint. A number of kids film the proceedings on their phones, some with real cameras. My wife and I are facing the rear of the bus, so I can't see what's happening out front. For a while, I keep thinking if I don't react, we'll move on. But soon the bus is surrounded by hundreds of kids, whose sorties increase in boldness as they board and start tagging inside. Almost as one of the passengers decide to abandon ship. And as we step off the bus, I realize we're in the middle of a full-blown teenage riot. There are thousands running around outside. Driven there, I later learned by the police, who have closed off Dolores Street to prevent the kids from bombing it with their skateboards. They vent their collective frustration on the bus and the nearby establishments. But it's easy enough to walk through this chaos unscathed, and at length we get clear of the riot zone and head home on Guerrero Street. As we walk, I can't help but ruminate. I'm profoundly irritated by the experience, but I don't take it personally. These teens have just lost about 3 years of their childhood to various pandemic-induced lockdowns. I can't imagine being cooped up in the house around the clock with my father at that age. I didn't go through any of that, but I still clearly have volcanic depths of rage just bubbling below the surface at him. I already recognize the riot as the third of a series that begins with the phone call and continues with the powwow, which explains my inability to begin writing about the first 2 events until this very morning. I was waiting unknowingly for the third term before I could proceed. Even though I'm not drinking these days, as we reach the bar around the corner from my apartment, I decide I need a drink. It doesn't help. At best, the bar provides a flat surface on which to arrange this triptych for Snidge. Well, thank you. I'm glad that went over okay, because I don't know if I really like it even. Let's see. Something. Let's try this one. It's called Night Thought. Poets. The only writers routinely expected to save the world, because we don't entertain, I guess, except ourselves or each other. In this country, anyway. Save the world, poet, you fucking bastard. That'll teach you to write poems, instead of literally anything else. It makes for a narrow compass. Most of us aren't suited to saving the world, being superstitious enough to grant the word outsized power. My ambitions diminish to trying to stay alive. I'm alive at night, Chris Martin writes, and it feels right to me. Because being a poet has got to stop, but never does, even when poems do. Only the torment remains from the world on fire. I'm alive at night, and it feels right to be alone for a moment with a poem. A privileged misery. I'm dead every day anyway. If I was Robert Lax, I would go, yes, 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 and no, no, no. That'd be enough. Instead, I pull out my Rod McEwen because I'm about to ruin the image and the style and the syntax. There's no spin class where you can learn me. I'm not hot yoga, tai chi, or Pilates. I don't podcast. I flabbergast. Iconoclast, not econoclass. I spread mean mustard. You must have heard me in the bins last garbage night preaching the gospel of beauty, cutie. Say something shocking like Stephen Hawking, I dare you to. They'll take your sneaker away. I'll tell any priest who'll listen this fetus would like to meet us in the People's Republic of Texas and say, suck on that, bitches. Our images will kill us. You can kill school kids, but the fetus defeats us. If I was Robert Lax, I would go, yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. I'm not just spinning my toes. A million more failures in store. Let my pain entertain again. Let my rain invade your cellophane. Let me hydroplane across your flame. Let me stray to relay your messages. Let my feigned existence stray. Let me explain so the point is plain. Let me exchange my place. Amen. Don't act like I didn't invent this form of autoflagellation. What have you done to dismantle the state today? What's this black hole got I don't got? Hope. Oh. Oh, God, what else? This. I forgot to read this one at the other reading, so I'll read this one. Here we go. This, I can get there. Here we go. This is called Friendly Poem. I got friends who like me, friends who love me, friends who are sick and tired of me, friends who up and died on me when I least expected it, or else exactly when I did. Had friends who gave up on life and others desperately clinging to it get flicked off with cosmic indifference. I've had friends give birth and admired it, but couldn't bring myself to join in. Maintained friends through obligation and cut off others brutally. I got a sliding scale for cruelty the world inflicts. I got friends I took it for granted, despite all the good in the world. Friends I couldn't reach or pushed away. Friends I felt just the right amount of mutual esteem with. Occasional miracles. I got friends who were dicks to me or dicks to everybody else but me. I've had famous friends, friends who were a burden and friends with benefits. Friends who hurt me who I tried to hurt back. Work friends, professional friends, friends I never met in person. Friends I was never certain were friends. It's a loose word like every other word I felt I could set a boundary to. A habitual line stepper excusing itself in the internal combustion of internal belief. I used no, that's totally wrong. It's a loose word like every other word I felt I could set a boundary to. A habitual line stepper excusing itself in the internal combustion of internal belief I used to steer myself through day to day. I catch feelings, feel all the feels, revise myself, revile them, vow never again, beg forgiveness and long for love and do it all over again tomorrow. I know I'm a lousy friend. I hate you half the time with equal but opposite force to the degree of passion I feel for you. Some friend I am. Don't applaud that. God. It's a person with issues. How are we doing on time? We okay? This it's not in any sort of obvious way, except it was when I was working on his collected prose. It's an homage to Ted Berrigan, dedicated to Anselm and Eddie Berrigan, and it's called Moist Aches. I'm Uncle Fester, the sullen jester, a mild molester of mobster jesters, who just might tetch you or contracept you across dimensions and cause dementia with my dentures if I French you. You feel my censure from my suggestions for your lecture. Just call me Hector's big adventure when I ascend your agenda's fenders. For ears to lend you and mail to send you, did I fail to mention your beat is slender, and I can't enter your shocking center to break off extra intellection for your eventual comprehension. I put the stench in your scent collection to demand correction of your weak injection. to prevent infection from this next selection until the tension's too expensive, and present tenses ain't free expressions. Your free expenses exceeds the lesson that I'm confessing. I reckon you best be getting out this western before there's less incentive to rescue the skeptical nephews in sensible shoes whose special utensils ain't quite prehensile enough to question the aggravation potential of recent inventions and indecent conventions and debut collections by creative collectives ain't very effective. I'm deeply offended by creepy objectives, so stand corrected. And just like Ted did, I'll be embedded in your remembrance, darker than Rembrandt's and lit like fluorescence. On the bare chance my striped pair of pants will merely enhance your appreciative stance on how essential my past is to your future endeavors. It's cute I engender your bastard's defenses. You come to my senses like you're at the dentist, with jaws extended and paws all pensive in recollection. So I'm sorry invective is mostly projected by this formal directive. Syntactic progression by rhyme is aggressive. Is it inevitable I inherit the bullshit inherent to your artistic debits? I argue the merits, so you better accept it if I hand out demerits and give me some credit and some fucking respect, dude. What's that?
A lot of short E's.
Yes, yes. I don't know. Is that enough? One more. One more. Oh, Lord. All right, three more. Small though. This is called Muddy's Report. It's a sort of a homage imitation of Michael Ballard. The coffee in the swamp tastes much like you'd expect. You mop up spills with a well-sunned half-title you tore out on the under. Ghosts play chess with angels whose wings get in the way of zombies looking for the John. You come here because they know you enough to respect your privacy. You can rub your beak on the perch because at least it's wood in the roomy part of the cage you might almost mistake for free. You build a tower of banter to transmit messages received between moments on the clock. Gangsters and Karen mean mug like they ain't never seen a quill. Even a dog says to a baby, "You believe this fucking guy?" Only they don't know how much world you hold together or what your presence preserves among incredibly sacred sanctums. Tomorrow's urge will be just as strong. All right. A couple more. This is maybe my first YouTube poem. Watching videos on YouTube. It's called Night of the Sea. Life on the wreck continues as normal. Meet up with the wife for afternoon delight. Wolffish in our spot. Fuck off. Guard the door as she slips out of something. Chase off rando Bluto while I wait. Finally she arrives in new soft shell. We make babies that look like clear gummies. A wreck that once carried deadly cargo has become a place of fascinating encounters. In these waters, lobsters were once so plentiful we were seen as food for the poor. Below the water, much has changed. I realize I'm setting traps between lines, elegant changes in direction as needed. Yeah, lobsters have a crazy life. Crazy lobster documentary. This last one is called Taliesin, who is a Celtic poet, and something, a sort of like Homer, like there probably was a real one, and then it just became a tradition. Taliesin. Got a horn full of mead and some shit I don't need. Expensive utensils, not just essentials. I dabble in entrails to augur a rumor or challenge an orange to rhyme with a lozenge. Poet shit. I get around. Kings give me cows, think I sing of their glory. Mere pretext for stories that won't fail to be known as tales Taliesin told. Who cares for a dead king more than a poem? You'd die of boredom if you were before one, unless Taliesin unburies him. My Awen suggested answerless questions like where does the wind go after it blows? Where does the mist keep its bones? Or do librarians know where night and floods flow? And often enough I finish it with a litany of what I've been. a salmon, and the stream it swims, and the eye of the fisherman. Thank you.
Thanks. It's very exciting to be here. Thanks, Eric. Thank you, my friend Neeli, for making this happen. It's very exciting to leave small town America. And with that in mind, maybe I'll read this one to begin with. This is called The Last Election. Do alligators smile? I wondered. The dog shook and pointed to the lagoon bordered by reeds. No one else said anything. The last election was in the air. Nothing new happens anymore. Someone lamented not too loud. This water is all we have now. The dog dipped a paw and stood back. Everyone else slipped in. Listen to the dog, Neeli. Listen to the dog. Becoming a member of the American Archaeological Conservancy for Kyle Harvey and all the students at the excavation. Leslie Scales from Reno took our fill away, took our music and left a consistent moan of pond phenomena as it began to do what ought to be done. Like the laundry, sorted, stacked, and folded right up to, but not quite a lie, the bishop said, and held his hand up to demonstrate just how far a lie can go. Gratitude, beatitude, licking old gravy. And speaking of imitation, notice the players selected high in the draft, instant champs of the press conference. Gosh darn this, and just like to say that, big honor in the moment, taking it day by day. This is what it's all about, really grateful, and spreading his arms just like the bishop, that lying prick. When the poem occurs in either copper, lead, or zinc fleece, when the sun appears after a long, hard sequence to illuminate the headline, poetry pokes the mind, complete with captioned photos of people screaming like in War of the Worlds, masses streaming out of the city on the way to Colorado, where the river's colored red like any neck in these parts, son. We take mistranslations serious, mighty serious. And when we say mighty, mighty is what we mean, no matter how separated we may be from reality. The last alert system had a glitch. Swinging around the sun, aiming for earth, for air, for breath. The computers began to breathe in Mr. Smith's class. Someone whiny in a room forgot. Some handler let it slip out. Some broker found it broken. Some fixer never answered the call. Some paver mixed it up all wrong. Some old professors of what's what. Some astronaut dropped the wrench. Some works remained unfinished. Some masterpieces went by fire. Some directions could not but be. Some dead ends, some narrow roads, some potholes called craters. Some vermin become leaders. Some snakes fall out of the sky. Some cowboy comes into your life. Some chimps wander. Some chimps decide to just settle down for a while and buy their bananas at City Market. What's that spell? When the water was turned off but kept running, a bird landed in a dead tree and stayed alive. We called it bird, as if we knew. And someone said, "This is sandstone." And Ma said, "Clean the cave." And shadows flickered on the wall. And we talked about finger paint and thought, what's up with all the archives built at sea level? And we pondered space-time, how it bends, waves, says hello, probably breaks in the end, a perfect planet, blue sky over a couple of guys reading the Times, drinking another cup of cattail, longing to take an atom bath, cleanse your corks, lighten your joints. Let's go to America and meet some Americans. Bird chatter, credit barter, buy a ladder, climb up and jump off as if we were at Woodstock listening to Country Joe and everyone was giving a fuck. Thank you so much. Don't get out very much to my surprise. Further than that, much further. Much more than ever. We had so much fun. Hard won. Couldn't hold on much longer. How much is that doggy in the window? He don't eat much. I don't eat much. You eat much? You sick fuck. Even if no one notices, they don't remember that mutt, but don't keep that mutt in the basement. Here, Orion. Well-spoken, sensitive types yip the glories of the goddess of idle fellows. And the loop guru lurks by the church and gargs, Anwin hitter gilly do, Witchlin cobbly now, doggers and selkies, and old Skip tried to lead a ragtag bunch out of the darkness to take that hill. Back in the trees, those headlight eyes, mere kids, meerkats. A mere tow-headed pigeon boy goes back to Miami, Scrimsel Puka Piast. Where's your good book now? Attitude, latitude, whip your own navy and sail for where you want to go. Meanwhile, rifting in the Somali basin, since the end of the Permian, the baptism of Gondwanaland, and its inevitable breakup when lonely headlines went to India, once attached to a notion of Madagascar? No joke. Continents split like climbers reach, separate, collide, create conditions for sidewalk cafes, and the work of making poems ring not from on high, but from real thunderclouds, hail, sleet, and the shit storms of God, if you will. Even if you won't, don't bother the ocean, currently turning to limestone. Rum cream on top, spilling down your bib, over your all. Once and for a ball, call Billy, and his explorers were the beginning of the end. Their discoveries astonishing, their refrigerators fetid on the bottom drawer with melted creams, and who knows what precursors were sought. As early as possible, they left for the hunt. For word had come in the form of a thought in the middle of a night after quite a day in the berry patch. Colorful images led the way to where they found a form to accommodate the mess and to take them where the animals were dreamt to be. running in flatlands and gullies with clouds stunningly majestic and unincorporated, stealthy hunters with straggling uncles, doting on daughters whose mothers were gods who lived in the sky. Rum cream. This is called Watching Baseball. The little epigraph from Marianne Moore that says, imaginary gardens with real toads in them. Watching baseball with contempt for it, its simple contrivances, the way it's designed for another commercial break every half inning, the control freak agents, managers and players, the constant rancor of the umpires, the ceaseless announcers like houseflies when the cows are close, all the scores from around the league, contempt for the season's length, the whole country caught up in the thing, like watching paint dry, say those who describe it as dull inaction of half athletes whose exploits are always about average. And yet, growing up with it, one finds between the lines in baseball something genuine. The old man and a cigar, history, strategy, order, symmetry. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and sing along, stretch, have a dog and a beer, spill your pop going for a foul, stand up and yell out loud at the damn bums, and give praise to the natural human animal in action. Hail young bipeds performing at their peak, grown men in uniform, ready and willing to run through walls, spending the energy of any young warrior with no killing, usually no blood. Tonight, the guy pitching is the pitcher who threw a pitch behind the head of the batter at the plate 6 years ago. Big brouhaha. The benches cleared, a punch was thrown, couple of ejections. In the booth, in the stands, in hanky waving rabid fans, anticipation settles over the field where no love is lost and there could be a fight. The world is not perfect, but a 5-4-3 double play is a beautiful thing to see. The image at once held forever in the mind, conjured up at abrupt times, times that defy time, like a humpback line drive. The pitcher goes into his windup, looks the runner's back, lifts, twists, pauses on one leg, stretches back, exhales big, uncorks it once. His arm bends on the tube in slow-mo, sickeningly back, as if to snap. He throws a curve. The batter speaks with his bat, adjusts his nuts so nonchalant, spits, rubs on the tar, crosses himself up to God, wraps the straps of his gloves tight, digs in, takes a few swings, looks up and sees the trajectory of a white ball arc out into the black night. He bangs his bat on the plate, 2 on, 1 out, top of the 9th, down a run. He takes his stance. Radio dreams of kids in bed, half asleep across the land. The brute grips and tenses, breathes and releases, whips his club around, grabs his woman by the hair, lines one down the third base line. The third baseman is ambushed by that shot. The stalwart at the hot corner can only react, knowing vet he is. He lunges, snags, leaps to his feet, throwing, and around the horn they go, third to second to first. Game over. The announcer grabs his heart, leapt out his mouth, stuffs it back down, and continues to talk. The hawkers of beer fold up their carts. The drunks stumble off to other fights. A blind man in the stands stands and can almost see. And one more. That's called Dear Kyle, for my pal Kyle Harvey. Dear Kyle, I wish it was 1968 and we were driving across Iowa, soil of family, gravel of sermon, grandfather's pipe at the breakfast table, premonition, intuition, understanding far enough that nothing could really surprise. Old news becomes older, faster, still amazes. One day I walked to the bus stop and learned the word assassination, and all the kids with their paper lunches spread out ringing, unknowing. Aunt Carol in a station wagon appeared to take me away. One guy held his breath for 6.5 hours in a Datsun truck until we crossed the Minnesota line. Idiots out wandering around, couple of poets in a car, burning, building, eating, speeding across America, feeling sick, seasick sailors mid-continent, heading for the coast if east or west, back or forth, both, and young Jack Mueller in the back seat, sonorous, hailing passers-by, giving direction, trailing the tape. The book begins there. Greenfield symmetry stretches its arms and feeds the world with hand grenades. False summits, fata morganas, all desert roads lead back to Iowa with Ron and Dick and Dada and High Ted, and Kyle Harvey sets his bass on his knee, looks straight into the Super 8 and says, cosmography, orthography, photography is true poetry. And I say, hey, look, as we fly by a tree full of rocks hanging in the middle of Iowa. Hawkeyes on power poles, Volkswagen vortices, adrenaline nation grown old before mine eyes, and all the long village nights, black and white futures, the buzz of cold city streets, African hazards, hanging metals, careful eyes, sizzling neons, bazillion poems, painters, friends, and lovers, eeny, meeny, miny, holy, 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 16 ripped landscapes, blind spirochetes spouting waves of what might be sounds. Sounds crazy enough when light. It's true enough to drive up the hill and find a parking spot right in front of 219 Andover, Neeli lashed to the prow, pointing out the way ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Clark doesn't need a break. We don't need a break. Everybody else, let's go. Take a break. Let's go for it. Down here so I can sit down. Yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody help. Yeah. Garrett's gonna yes. I gotta use that stool back. Move the mic. I'm the last one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a chair, there's a stool. Like, let me. Like, what do you think? Like, what kind of? Do you want the stool or you want this chair? Okay, yes. Put that up and then we'll put the.
Yeah, way low.
It's really sensitive, Clark, so it doesn't need to be too close.
Yeah.
Yeah, these
Like,
damn
yeah,
things.
There's too much to adjust. Too much freedom is a bad thing. So, what do
You think
about
that's, well,
like that, or do you want it closer?
we can do something to get it lower. Oh yeah, well, what I want to do is put it down like this.
There.
And then we'll have a better thing in certain ways. Let's see, something like that. Something like that. Make sure these are tight. And I think that's probably going to work. You probably don't have to approach it very close.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I think everything is tight. Yeah.
Just tight. Yeah.
And it's not going to matter too much as long as the element's pointed towards it.
Okay.
I don't think you got to lean into it.
Really? Okay.
I think you don't have
That's
to.
fine.
We'll make sure we have good volume. Don't.
Okay, folks. I think we're set up now. Thank you.
Coolidge.
So I figured since we've got kind of a lithic atmosphere going, and Danny's here, I would read from a book that they are going to publish next year. I think, when, Danny? Early 24? I don't know. Hopeful. Yeah. So I'll read. This is a selection from the first decade of the century. What a weird way to say it. From poems written between 2000 and 2010 called Radium Out Cold. And I'll just start reading toward the end and see if I get there. This is called A Golden Age. Where there is a doggy and I don't like the doggy. A dentist tied with ropes to the doggy. A snuff is heard from the saturated lines. The dozer does its duty. Books, spats, fertile eruptions of the skin. As man's fate lurches toward the trees, overly thin legs in the rain, only partial to the detriment of electrical bugs. Bed is no place for trains. Water glass in petri dishes. I hear the barking. They need a thumping. Walking the post pass like a woman's hair, but the madman will have his constitutional. Mutton served on pegs out of sheer goodwill, and this will be a knockdown. Ragout, in which it is found that Mozart is mysterious. That old boy had his head on for the day. Sores appeared and a brand of wheat rose. Snap the cap. You're soon out of that. Women's breasts have come with wheels. Will the gamekeeper take his pills? This may be catching, but not in the kitchen. The untamed fires of liberty are taken with a pinch of lead. The head coot, whose pencils tend to go off on him, parts with flowering triggers and such that made up for what was next brought in, the miasma of an empty dress. But soon, the madman, he is special, and it shows, all the glassware from a single skeleton, so careless he's perfection. Lights out. Everyone cry. Try to mend those wiles. Choose to hide behind the oils as all leave a room otherwise used as a freedom thicket. Spines growing out of a prelate's head in advance. The violin kicks itself down the street by rote. Then the budgies all start eating their hands, carting the express loads of a love affair, for they have knowledge. A madman cannot put a stop to his full rip. The lovers eyeing the marble digits, forcing the church to split, but the madman is Steve, and he will rise to a perfect headache, suck the toe to perfection. I give up. Somewhere along the way it changed to Wagner, and the conductor's head had gone. time to deny. I slept in the world. I didn't know anybody. I'm writing a book about sand. As a child, I lived in a mansion. Now, are we up to anything here? Some say I invented the balance beam. I used to eat clothing, a gun I use with red gloves. Read what I'm told. It's graceful. I wish the light would give out, if only to tell. I swear if I know, topic, sentence followed by other is for a terrible weight. Join? I was born in this band, but I never wanted to do anything, not even fly or be something. It turned out I already was one. Start again. I woke in another. Story with strings. Is this floor flat at all? Not if you ride roller skates competition model. Flinched before you heard the shots. It's all done up provisional anyway. Private dick lights white cigarette, does a wipe, is gone, is back, overlooking today's remains. Re-empty red car, a wallet with footnotes. Are you a substitute? Everything in red won't connect. You die, you go to the moon, don't you know? Where everything's beige and buried in mushrooms. He looked at you and saw a bedroom in his future. This sort of setup comes in its very own case. No time for hi-fi or stereo, those kinds of poems. A key to your locket and there'll be some answers. The jewels off a felt pad, the skyline of a snowman. I was with my wife in a room when I woke up, someone was there and things went on. You know how these up-tempos work. Or stop, bop. Now, when is all this taking place? The kind of guy wears his hat in a car. Stars that were on your walls are now in this envelope. Take it and smile. But the guy's shoes match his tires. Pop. I'm giving out. The future has ceased to roll. Something to tell you. Squeak or peep or laugh or blow. Listen, I'm the changer. Didn't I tell you the sun would go down? An idea, a soap called Dead Meat. These people you see, they live in Cos Cob. Quiet. Anywhere Degas is not available. Even the air is dead. Ever catch the smell of a smile? Ha! Just what is it you think you're revealing here? I dared myself to. Thought is through. Good thing you can't re-experience the horror of coming to life. Do you really want a conversation with your own memory? Can you give me the exact significance of Mr. Froggy? It's better quite often to forget whatever is on your wallpaper. Just as I thought, there's no one here. You are not even a single member of your own life. Sorry about that. Big fat stoop. How many futures wasted? Eyes just colored balls. Maintain a running face. Asphalt boots to the horizon, a terminal flush. After that, we lapsed back into no such thing as soon. Are you a customer? To make things I have been known. The next day. Instead of the sun, a clown appeared, which didn't work out at all. We sent him back that same night right after the big rock fall and massive spill of paint. Peep, peep, let go of my hill. The seat will shrink, the cardboards drain. Think you'll find anything? Blow it out your whole train. On a bet, somewhere there's music. Somewhere there's music. A story called Misty. Do you promise to laugh? The one about the 5,000 priests and the 900 dolls. Probably had that one on the wall of your office, up all night with the realization. Tumbling dice, world without price, born a double palomino. Saw you in the headlines, probably the bread lines. I can hardly see it all. The minutes seem to crawl. Most of our cereals come from Virginia, the Piedmont, the Delta, some bishopric or other. Are you my mother? This is a homage to Williams, to Stevens, to Doodad, Nimrod, Abracadabra, and the Cooties. We met down on the farm, the foggy road to speleogenesis. Not good enough? Elaine May will save it and rewrite. Secretly, the snail is in the mail. I recognize your name on the weapon. What no one else has dared to say, the sun sucks. The drill cores have been misplaced. Never saw the results. We'll gather together at Trees Lounge for the music alone. I feel dizzy was almost removed from the shoe, replaced by cool jerk, by the next in line, by the scoopful, an expensive leather tetherball as a rule. Tape your want list here. Drop a dime on no one. Top spin is permissible. Always write your name in the center of the page. Ambitious, try here. Enters accompanied by salt. Imagine somebody will manage the pickup, rattles lock. Matter of some substance goes along with anything. A layer of gauze over the entire clock tower. Fear of orgies and playings of the spoon. 3 cheers for Orderly Jones. Master of straps and belts. Being homeward bound now is what possible? I presume that star is still pumping. Stupidly, I trusted the wrong window. They have summers there, contrary to popular belief. The bubbles will tickle your Cherkovski, but that's none of our business. Effortless if it is, and numbness creeping up. Guess who's in the shower? Donald Dark. That theme? Ancient railway in the sun. Decidedly western slant. Now it's Bart. Wait, I'll turn out the light. Rumble of Mickey mouth yelling at each other. No more wallpaper smothered in tape. Flame after flame of a watering compound. So about face, Mr. Man. I could write a preface. And the rains came. Shit is synthetic. Plus a blues club full of sofa chairs. Liveried wavelength hold up a mole on. People always speak when I speak. The last words were, trust my lion. Lands in a clatter of boxes, no sunlight. A long, clear, straight line to what you want. There's no too far, just a long way down. Cupcakes and car salts. Now who is this they? All sat out in front of a baseball game. Unit you take the tweezers to, care to take a breather? The clamps are on. The collected phone calls of Richard Strauss, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and William Tell, despite. Permissions. Think I'll call my driveway Ferlinghetti. The backyard? Too complex. Don't know, have to think. Keep the driveway locked from the inside. No need for any more nonsense syllables wandering loose. Candy Clark, my second choice, so she can take a walk too. Meanwhile, no very good works have been produced. Think I'll name my garage after Adobe Marge. Up there among the willing pace setters online, my garbage can is called Tiny Man, okay? This pencil, Holly Near. The paper, Stilo. Who well might. Such a man, he takes a bath out of cans, stares at each other on airplanes. People tell him he looks alike. Takes a flashlight to investigate the air around his body, as long as he has to act, at least past the point of no return. Tells the stew, don't let anyone run out of fluid. Pilot's only been checked out on balsa models soaked in dope. Quality of instance abuse. Where's your handler? Now don't go getting all broadband ridiculous on me. A simulacra full of substitutions. What do you mean you missed the sky? This thing is too clean. I don't like it. Termination code, Petty Papa Polka Dunce. Something make you think it would? Next. Water rings on wooden stone, floor plans to be elsewhere would show a scream in a cave in a hill by the sound like we'll see there are no copies. You're not looking. No idea but in thoughts. No ice but in crystals. I'll hold the door. You'll be framed like a rabbit in the lettuce. Someone's heaven is a hay farm. Formidable. I'll come around and ink it in later. It's only gold on paper. He's a bruiser. Others lack the blood. Ice cream nougat, zircon brilliance, and a neon clamp. while far down the same street, there was the end of my flaming Matisse, the capital of art holding up to wait for what we'll bring. An airbag for Willie Loman. You may possess a blimp, but only while staying seated. I don't want to be intimidating. Or you could try the Savage Pampas. Still no flakes in the burn bin, a diamond with Washington on it. Sea cliff near cells all lit from beneath within hailing distance of all cabs. Were you washing something? Burning heavens, idiot. Scrumptious with riders, insets, trumps, but Rotter Benny was a hire, strictly beach grass. I have heard it sung. The ends of his words are always left hanging. Let's settle this. I have too many hands. The doctor owns my teeth. I had a beer, can hear everything, even the metallic. Over there are only loners, plus a plastic model of the sands of time. The man in the white flat. Careful of that ultraviolet flavor to things, but I use that word too much, and now it's worlds away, really. Those roads must roll. The lights in the sky are stars, no stuff, and facts are not a matter of faith. I bet you 20 simoleons, but isn't there a definite blue glow to things now? I felt it coming down the stairs after me. No way I was going to rush to the window. See, there's a garbage man perfecting new gloves out there. Gangs intruding in here. Nevertheless, I'll walk, thanks. But all dentists are crazy. Bump into people I don't know. There's a flavor, and I have to go right out again. You know, there are meetings the matter with you. I stand on the street accepting shadows, benefits, placebos. Is that Denny Zeitlin in his new age phase? If you're not crazy, do that thing with your eyes. Done. There was a little plastic left in our overall plasma, just back from a film called Baby Don't Pull Me. People are different. Times are strange. Knew you when, see you now. They tried to get pork from a cow. Lighting of most interiors all messed up. Patou, it scares you. The secret density. There were too many backgrounds to everything. I couldn't focus on the main action, gaps even. There's little sense in saying, come with me to this house, but forget the house. While out back there's repair work, the rabbits, the mouth of a vast dark funnel of bricks, tubas on the track, mist on the lens, pajamas to be worn over your jacket, etc. The life lived that way, but I wouldn't. I'm not what you think I am. Elizabeth Taylor, Jesus. You'd need an extensive nerve map with clearings, zones of Babatunde, sheesh, stumps in danger, foo, a lump in the rug, not necessarily show. You run a gallery with everybody at your elbow. All the time, I mean. Drop that lariat. Don't know why I said that. There's a bird with no heart, only this continuous scrolling sound. Writings. In the late afternoon rays, the standing stones are standing libraries. A colossal symmetry. I can't imagine what was written there or what now will dinner time mean. Call the Stanley Avenue division and ask for the folded cardboards. That way? Meanwhile, back beneath the bindings, mammoth gilded leathers give access. Goulash. I feud with myself. I'm asking myself. I'm asking you. I am asking the language. A small people with large harpoons, a small round god on a teak table cooling down. All these stones await the kissing moon, and I write it down here, kangaroo that I am, leading capsule that I was, a throw short that I will be. Once I stop making people laugh, the troubles come out to meet me. Dante. Hawk steaks. Then I came to a distinct dot. The end of the street held my history then, a wobble of the planet, pocket size, but there's this brilliant tree in the way of a childhood back there or from which it was launched, but communism is completely unrealistic. I prefer travertine, or was that serpentine? I nearly don't hardly feel, but stop, strip the Christmas tree. Don't back down as downcast we come apart. Some noise just, no what? The top of the calcium building flew away. You should really have a television that showed that. Gleam spreading fast as a speeding elevator, right past the initial turtles. Who knows? Who could? Have you seen the view from Bodenheim? My friend, shock and displaced otherness, a bindle stiff at best, jello fancier, an irremediable dummy, spacious as show business, but there's no pattern to dreams. There you spend your life tracing them. Then there's everybody's drinking problem. Not my type. Freak show, Palmolive Pete, the drapes are ready for your accent, green smoke from the telephone's fluid. Cape Town is where I most remember first being. My aunt there came with the flood. The apartments came in buckets, if not cubes. Stay clear, they said, sit tight, come away, don't go back. My very own person rose through a hole in the ceiling. A walk would do it good. I yawned at the gap in her clothing, smiled at the active section of the image, wondered who owned that frame. Everything to be seen belonged to that frame. People are usually the causes, but not this time. Soon someone would come to the same solution, a word that sounds like amazing in Chinese. Title lost. If I placed you at all, it was always on a seat. Pianissimo and living among the shelves. Takes a few shots at the rain with a rubber thing. Breakfast out of a tube. You'll think you know these people in the clockwork trade. Stop with this Hummer nonsense. Nothing but open space. A self-poet. If they knew what you really are. Got up to about substance 10. You want a drink? Body of a bullwhip. Stays. It's the animals that move. Trapes. Actually, it's the chandeliers that shudder. All elbows when we pass beneath. Must be about time Trigger met Terence Stamp. Hear what I say? You think the sailors made the charts? I saw you lean on that car, but it didn't go off. Next time, I'll climb. Catering is beyond me. I just sobbed, but the rest felt good. Ever taken on any fish? The next slot is the food tube. Listen deep and slow, beyond which come beasties. The percolator's busted. The camels have birds' heads. I'm a fixture nut. Where's the bath? Good for the life of any human stain. Chasing pyramids, not so choice an idea. Burning the heads in a solution of coke and depth bombs. Ever noticed? One sun goes down as the other rises. A certain treat for pencil owners, ex-sailors. You just have to keep a fresh head breeze. Watch the razor glass. Is that Santa's brain I see there in your ashtray? The rest you can sell at auction. Could you throw another possum in the oven? Here's a fucking fin, okay? That should jack up your inner brain, but the pressure on that brain, oh shit, designated to stay behind and watch the mice walk away. A simmering of all those heads. You are fortunate. A simmering of all those heads. Remember the days when your whole life came in an album? But I fear those camels hold the lessons of history between strains of harp music and other people's lives. Scrape the smoke. You might consider a shutdown. Light is leaking from the cities, infatuating terminals for propellers, a shot glass intelligence. That poor position of your wrist is terrifying, so stop it. Lug whatever's left home. The dolphins are on the phone, so it glows. Mute seeds of movement furl the air. The cow has landed. Some sheep's in a house. I got the light bulb blues. Fast as I can turn, the matchstick arena useless, Throckmorton P. Elgin lever breaking for some peace, etc. Sir, I have Milwaukee on the wick. Cars ride the stairs, their nodules so temporary. Her here, slow my hand. The fixture's alive. The poem's done. No, it's not. A particle stirring. Is this your room, the war room? Curtains are coming between, but let's have a break fast. Doesn't feel good? Smash some furniture, crockery, drapes with inflections. Here comes some shod fest for carpet inspection only. Face like a glove, coffee like a rug. I suppose a blur factor takes us further this way, please. Scared? I'm afraid of your underwear so bad. Here in Dr. No's basement, the best food in town. Much of a show, not much of a show, though. Look, artificial life, a tree grown in hairspray. Plum dramaturgy. I was shaken, but not much stirred, Mr. Baum. Remove the girl, skip the grill, make the earth pay. Groans reach us through the amplifying device. They've just noticed all the lakes in the world run out. Soon there will be vast stupidities everywhere. You'll have to wear an element suit, submit to the most mundane dangers, so stand by for a Lulu. Red opium will make you sick, stuck with this queer blue sky. Yeah. A way out. There is. I already gave it the landmine. Step into this small metal room or lead mine. Meanwhile, under many a tin ceiling, a chain of tiny lakes hemmed in silver, blocks of molybdenum bar litter the corridors. We loved all the secret substances, translations of the bloody ordinary, permanganate and phenolphthalein necessities. The lemon aquifer in the backyard, invisible to most eyes, a steel box with bottles quite brown. But I did not quite follow that route. Have you seen what blossoms beneath the ground? Helicals among the hidden sundry salt array. More than root crop stringers down there. Axes cast from ring to ring, fragmentary maybe. The inscription on the shovel says, stuff to compress. Trellises of the amethystine Lohengrin pure key. Let the plasterers hang, the wire workers fence. This even passes beneath your home state if you know where to start. The number of waterfalls down there confuses the issue. They do not know that the world is a zone. So to say, they're out of their element, for which there is no homing device. Claustrophilia is an asset herein. Definition of the world definition plugging all holes. This tunnel is called the Democrat. It opens on the junction hall containing a formation called the Priory Spoon, or is it the Yarn Egg? These propping sticks are the indulgences. Make up your own scotomas. The sub-basement has been misconstrued. The end and after. Can I fix you a glass of water? Coming to see someone for no reason is becoming a lost art. Hang the drinks. Step over here. This is the act of love. Lunch is a paper basin. To be known, to be is to be known. There's nothing further than what prevails. A bang beyond the bang, it all felt like. Consider the broken stars, the pre-notion, the doubled interruption. Heard the one about the man with the talking ashtray? A life here is continuous daily. After all, we were taught to be watchful. 2, the bombs came in through the awning. There never were any dogs. This is the diary of a devil stomping in the rain. Be sure not to catch your death, your share. The way you came upstairs, there was a train down there somewhere stuck. You'd have to be a great walker to say that. Are we relieved of love at first light? During the war, the clocks all turned to chalk. Some there were, with hearts worn on their vests. The more I see you, the more I am jealous of your things. There are reasons. The bombs were our lamps. Sing for your washer. A dog in horn black. Gallipoli posts. Peril Mesta presents the long corridors of floor can. The search is to the outside. All goes down to chicken wire shadows. Lintels brim with sap. A tumor finally removed from Cary Grant's forehead. You are sheeted with attachments. You are the son of Ken Clean Air System. choice bullets and lemon butter. Here's the Rock Wool Wall Museum. The desert waters are all from El Norte. They cluster around virgins aching to be snatched. Take your snaps. The cops are lizards, fated to pink slip and gray room. A chooch has more value. Apathy. Dry bathroom. A blended welcome to the house of nice ones. Sock fits whole torso. Slept like a fly. Where is the radome staff? Too dangerous itself. Wall lamp full of sugar. Sound of worms playing ping pong. Such mastery. A brown meatball against a meat white breast. A good one in the eye. The name is knowledge. Used to be a fink, now a splinter. 5 o'clock on the beat. This red money is a real shack. Wouldn't catch you with a horoscope. Cocoa in the mashed potato. I'll have you stuffed. Come back when it's metal. My hanky broke, but with pleasure. A factory called Redbrum, right along the bed. Crack it like a piece of tongue. The pimp is a tap dancer. Think palm olive. All my gags are gone. My room so fond. Grave rubbers. You're Aquarius? I'm lobster. Let's undress. Just so far, no cigar. My bug collection got lost in one of our moves. Animals without backbones preoccupied my early days. Cross-eyed flatworms, my specialty till the pond dried up. Put mantis eggs in our garden, but nothing came out. What I thought were small brass rolling things turned out to be more interesting. But enough fascination bullshit. If I told you it all amounted to a lump in the rug, would that? A procession of dolls, the for God's sake model, wind her up and she sweats. The no question model, wind her up and she pouts. It's the it's no use model, wind her up and she passes on. Pulls out sheet after sheet, and yet, beware, the door is loaded, a special silence in every nook. We'll have lead pudding and snap peas, snapped at the neck, that is, snapped back at, snapped when I wasn't being careful enough. These people are wanderers, nothing like them in our experience. No point in setting your cap, no getting it right at all. If I were you, I'd practice looking at the walls. Jack S. speaks through the medium of mute Clark. Figure that one out. We reached the bell of death. Hand me that wash piece, tantamount to a tantamount at the end of all books. Dip your face in pith. Hire out this basement for the Olympics. You never learned fire as a child. The book has no corners, the bell too many. Loose again in the capsule of brute thought. Blood came through as usual, in effect. The writer was a ringer, then had sex. These walls have known much sex. And ribbons that clash with your Navy hymns, to the point of not even imagining speech. We cleared the highway. The cars had stalled. Overall settlement by Big Bill Brunzi. This whole dump is the pits. Quinn the Eskimo and extremist. Please, these garbage vistas, ambrosia to Eurydice. You have one last chance for a solo on that bell. Pen crystals. This is a noise station currently playing Dover Beach. Tonsils removed in Alabama, replaced in Peru. I'm afraid we pretend we hear the same things. Oxygen is a fossil on some worlds nearby. The flyby is a proper name, stopping by words on a sunny evening, the Countess Antidote presiding. In the lobby, we were given a necklace of time, a possibly rum notion, the one that Rhodes used to attract the night. You should talk to me, only about me. Dullest body in the pack. Question, why have you always avoided green? By halves, the very least picture of a caravan locked well before the raising of the arm to do anything. Bartok's levity at hearing a vibraphone. The next napalm holidays. Do you think molecules are clean? Was that a shot? No, just Jimmy blowing up his toys again. pulls kids' batteries out of his hair, but some turkeys are brighter. Is that milk on your face? Let's show each other ours. Lift handle. The manual on how to straddle, all calcium in there, too many eyes. That fox stole my car keys, don't talk. Wire all the neighborhood radios together. To what good? Remember when the eclipse made all the sun shadows weird? Anyone special? Remember when Christmas time blew up? Jimmy Jufrey live in Tenerife. I like the way the river flows right past your open mouth. City blocks. Why do you look so talented? Zero in toto, a fabulist with loose arachnids, Scott Fitz, star reporter, Bill Lundigan, rotter. A party down in Flagstaff, they're made of rubber. Silence! Enough being nipped in the ribbon for one issue. Try the fantasy basement, no chairs. The choir sings about Sanibel's slacks. Dreams of cash, dreams of crabs, looks down the dress of his dreams. So many bodies, so much space, do the math. Too many lights, something will happen. Wait, have you seen that crack in the moon? Go for it, not much time. Any sealant left? May be able to scrape up a few stray flashes. Won't help if you leave your work out of doors. Is that a yes or the sole of someone's foot? Break an egg. Got any cordite? Lose your programming? A ghost brimming? Here are the stairs to the stars. A sob. Make a fist. Construction paper cut. Peep goes my backup. Boat drinks by turncoats. The willing of a wave. Hole in cloud by the mine. They call this the land of so, where all you have are these dots you'll have to live with. Once again, the tormented substances. How do you know when you're a woman? There's a lug nut. Plus something to watch. Let's move. The rest are the true maniacs. Your friend there hasn't got anything. Who does? A solid sender. Now what name will you be using? Any spare clips? A waterfall is developing. Some electrodes in case you survive. Who's your oxygen source? Candid O'Hara? Do you know John Zorn has his own blimp? Your life is so far has been torchlit, and now the strobes, stones attached to icicles, and you're foiled. Bet there's something behind you. A raw snail, right full rudder. You'll not have seen the like. Let me try some of that yellow dynamite. Rubber in paradise. A college co-ed finds the bones of the seven dwarfs. A voodoo siren warns a town to no avail. My gun is thick and it hangs in a closet. Give me your thoughts on random horseplay. Amazing how many husbands there are in the world. Tugboats, too, windscreens, cornflake balloons. At any one time, more than one of its at least seven. At any one time, any more than one of at least several wax togas are the favorite toys on which planet? I wish you hadn't taken my place on the list of world's favorites. Hide and everyone will want to find you. What makes you think such a thing? The lists you're already on? Some sort of crab lives in every country on earth. In Mitchum's favorite film, he played a priest with a machine gun. A summary of world events ending with a cheerleader blowing her whistle at the speed of light. There's a couple more. All in the number of glasses. Get me the petroleum police station. Far out. Have you seen this man? It may be that he is realizing a small gas base. Send round car, back alley smartness to no avail. We'll pass like most substances. Don't call attention. Balloons going up like pineapples Thursday. You've got one in your bed, you know. Any news from Cadaver Square? This place may go up like an apple. Other uses for old things. Mind your bag. There'd be plenty of room later. Flashlight beams across bitumen streets. Everyone in dusty tartans. Quick Minister gleams. The Parish Hotel. Watch now, it's going. This pencil was always going to end in a poem. There'll be a stop to this, I promise. Now look, robot, I'm calling Tuesday, the stuffed shirt event, the promises of a ducksmith. He'll call eventually. The fat man was a detective, unusual as a crepe Suzette, shakes like a lumberjack, tension, but see the wires? A grower comes and says, send out for some moral fiber. Strangely enough, I have no paraphernalia. Ends, laughs up the juice, but he hardly, of course. I'm right. For sure, Mrs. Raymond. Some cayenne left as a residue, lead-based, doubtful. I don't think about money dope. The world's biggest newspaper. Slap of suds, put on makeup of a lime green shade. Very. He used to grow a steel company. Peen ball, young, warm, and pretty. Disconcerting lumps, and want to tell you there are other robots. Call for you in the mirror. I'm down on trains. Even any kind of experience. Yeah? Go ahead. She's a real duster. Had offers, I suppose. Huh? Take me to 346 Calvert Street. Why? Shut up and drive. Georgia Staples is getting hitched. Black Tuesday and all the patrols are occupied. Food's been a stranger. Eyes grown wild. Pronounced as man and wife wide. Slips the knot like staring at a blot. A plug of toothpaste, 3 pools of stickum. Don't badger anyone, miss of you to come and say goodbye. Hello, anyway, you haven't said 2 words, convincing that is, and a perfect face bricked up in honesty. A quarrelsome litany that just makes me water. Says he's Herman Lauter, a seeming brain. Let it rest, say anything at all. Too sober to tell. He invented slumber, but let us take off. Not even the roots left. Crate loads, busts in with satiny drinks. A descent enough frame and gross spectacular rubbery colas on a waist-high shelf. Hi-ho, that silver duplex, tracked in something serious, a model hairdo. Are you Ornette? Spurious. Let's get rid of everything. Now, how are those verses coming? Significance. Director of Metonymy, Hirsch Insect. Dreadful unless... Dredge tea often, apologist, already arranged for. Attorney frame box, roadway emeritus, one of those that smile at cops. Stanislaus S. Oblique, gone away. Amelia Obsequy lacks presence. Whatever was found in Actor Elastic's report. Sun on oranges, also an Arab rush. Lintz Becker, master of proportion. Size greet, tensing floorboard at the last. Think this is oxygen? Queries Amble, Londonderry. Passel double and Berry told, both flighty. Implications, detain blister lock in rigmarole. I fear to leave my name alone. Turns and siphons. Winds up this sky pilot don't please anybody. That and the varmints are lit. Hey, Papa, a story with punctuation like pyramids in your backyard. Hey, Stavros. Hey, Chucky. Hey, whatever we haven't got. What's put the dawn up your butt? A silence of bated pursuit. Someday somebody will have to clear all these rocks out of the west. Bullets will be coming, then stopping short. Possible death. What mean man mean? One thing. They never rhyme. And how it's huge. Rats on that mountain music might need. A hand with those cards, and now things that couldn't happen start to happen. Fresh as twin hammers tossed in a laundry hamper. And the last one is called Our Two Sakes. Here, the wind won't move until I tell it. Going over a number of matters and so forth. Now, what's with all this corrugated glass? I'll take it and play with it, but only at home. Those ladies of the basin. Better run for it. Stop it suddenly, if at all. Cancel all nodes. As I recall, I was kind of tentative, but this isn't the sort of proof you can sit on. Some things come right out on you. The room has too many pictures of cats, or just enough. Stop posing as the Campbell clown. There are too many active radios in this zone. The end came gradually with cowbell. Thank you. Thanks.
this really neat new Russian translation, a book of Russian poets translated. And so there's books for sale, of course. Danny's books, something of Garrett's, Gregory Corso's The Last Shot, published by Lithic. If you want the Coolidge and Cherkovski, we'd each sign it, and how neat that would be. There you are. Thank you all again. Thank you, Eric Whittington, one more time.
Thanks so much, Clark. Appreciate it. And thank you all for being here all afternoon.
I guess I called you
Hanging out all afternoon.
Yeah. We were